Hello everyone, this is Anime Savvy back again with a new anime review. In this video, I will be reviewing the first season of Demon Slayer, and I actually do have a good bit to say about it, so this should be interesting. I'll be judging the show on 3 metrics: plot, characters, and enjoyment. I'll give each of these a score out of 10, 10 being absolutely amazing and 1 being horrible. Looking at these numbers, I will find the average, which will be the final score for the overall show. I will go over some spoiler events later, but rest assured, I will give a warning and time code to skip to if you haven't seen the entire season yet. Also, this should go without saying, but because this is the internet, I'll go ahead and say it anyway. Any critique or comments I make about the show are all just my opinions. What I think about the series will largely depend on my personal tastes. So take what I say with a grain of salt. So, without further delay, let's get into it. To summarize the story, it would be this. Tanjiro is an intelligent and kind boy who lives with his family in the mountains and lives a fairly nice life. That is until one day he comes home to see that his family has been slaughtered by demons while he was gone. The only survivors are him and his sister Nezuko, who has been turned into a demon. The story follows Tanjiro on his journey becoming a demon slayer as he attempts to find a cure to turn Nezuko back into a human. While the premise of the anime is enjoyable, it does obviously fall into a lot of the shonen tropes. And while it may be popular to crap on anime that fall into those tropes, to be honest, I thought the story was pretty good overall. A lot of things I thought I wouldn't like, I ended up actually enjoying. For example, most of the series is very monster of the week. A normal episode would look like this. Tanjiro is going around. The crow tells him about a demon nearby. He meets a character or two, and shenanigans ensue. This would span an episode or two, and the demon would be defeated. Rinse and repeat. There are a lot of anime that do that, and some shows it gets old after a while, but I think the YouTuber Giguk said it best in his Demon Slayer video. It may be formulaic, but it's a formula that works. It somehow managed to keep the Monster of the Week format without it getting old or redundant. One of the ways they were able to do this was not just through storytelling decisions, but mainly the way they executed and paced it. While things like animation and sound design can seem separate from the story, in this case, I think they relate very much to one another. While the visuals usually accompany the story and are used as a way to transport the audience through the series, in Demon Slayer, the visuals and sound design are used to enhance and enrich the events happening. I want to give special attention to the animation and sound effects used. Ufotable really did give it their all in this area, and it paid off. Every final fight at the end of an episode or mini-arc was animated, voice-acted, and developed to perfection. I never knew how much sound effects could enhance a scene until I watched Demon Slayer. The sounds used for a sword slashing coupled with sounds of running water was beyond satisfying. This is the kind of thing I need in the background of whatever I'm doing. Forget all those lo-fi hip-hop mixes, we need a compilation of sound effects from Demon Slayer. Then maybe this poor girl can stop studying and take a break. There's a scene in particular that I'm thinking about when talking about all of this. However, that does delve into some spoiler territory, so I'll save that for later. What I'm trying to say is, even though this story does follow a lot of the tropes and cliches that so many other shonen adhere to, it manages to go above that through both some solid storytelling choices as well as good execution. It's not Shakespeare-level writing or anything, but it was still fairly well done. Now, let's talk about the characters. I don't know what I was expecting, but similarly to the story, the characters did exceed my expectations. Now let's get something straight. These are not the most amazing characters ever. We're not getting berserk kinds of character complexity. But this series doesn't need that. Take Tanjiro, for example. He's not a super brilliant main character, but he still is a solid protagonist. He has a likable personality, a neat design, and has an actual drive to fuel his actions, that being to protect Nezuko and protect other people from demons. And these goals don't feel contrived either. It feels like they make sense for the character and have actual reasoning. However, I don't think I can go further without mentioning Nezuko. While I could talk about how cool she can be when the situation calls for it, or the interesting connection she has to Tanjiro and all the other humans, or how well she fits in the series, I'm not going to beat around the bush. We all know why I want to talk about her, and that is because she's so freaking cute. This is the little sister done right, and that's hard to do. I mean, there's an entire genre dedicated to sisters, which have pretty much all failed. She has a face that is worth protecting. What, you can't protect her because you're injured? That's okay, because she'll protect you so you can return the favor later. She can be cute when she needs to be, which is 99% of the time, and insanely cool when she needs to be. Look at her and say I'm wrong. I freaking dare you. But, on a serious note, I do think she was a good thing for the story. I was worried about her becoming a plot convenience, but they managed to work around that. I definitely think she made the story better with her character. Also, she's cute. Similarly, I enjoyed following the side characters and villains. Well, most of them. The demons worked well as villains, giving nuanced tones and intriguing backstories, which I wasn't expecting. A lot of supporting characters were great as well, such as Orodaki and Inosuke. Then we have Zenitsu. From a writing perspective, he was fine. The problem I had with him is that he was so annoying. Stop crying, stop whining, and do something. Oh, well, never mind. I do appreciate his character development later on and his awesome fights, but I still found him pretty irritating with how annoying he was at times. So, yeah, some nice characters overall. Okay, so I've been looking forward to this part of the video, and if you've seen the show, then you have as well. I will be discussing some spoiler moments, and more specifically, one moment in particular. If you haven't watched the entire season yet, then skip to the timestamp on the screen right now. While there are a few moments I could talk about, I think you all know the one that's most worth talking about. The moment that got Demon Slayer trending online, and to convince people why it was such a good show. This is, of course, the end of episode 19. Describing what happens in this scene is pointless since you've obviously already watched it, so I'll try to explain my feelings about it. The interesting thing about it is that the moment doesn't exhibit any super complex or intricate story ideas. And that's weird for me, because for me to feel so strongly about a moment, it usually needs to have some sort of grand writing decision that I've never seen before in an anime. And if you take away everything but the actual premise of the scene, it's not anything special. But it still manages to be, I would argue, near perfect. If I had to point out what made the moment work, my answer would be just about everything. The gorgeous animation, voice work given, perfectly timed sound effects, the amazingly fitting music all works together to create something honestly beautiful. It's something that I've rarely seen in anime, let alone this polished. This scene made me realize something. The story doesn't just have to do with the ideas or writing decisions. Execution has a big part to do with it. Meaning, sometimes spectacular visuals and audio choice can elevate a competent story to something so much more. And that's exactly what happened here. It's a beautiful scene that can only be experienced by watching it yourself. It manages to evoke such a level of emotion that I can only look at it with awe. It is a display of passion and effort from the people who made it. It goes to show how amazing a moment can be when the people working on it care so much. Aside from that, episodes 17 and 18 were also awesome, giving some strong moments from both Zenitsu and Inosuke. And also, the end of the season really did make me excited for what's next. But the star of the series thus far was still definitely episode 19. With the spoiler moments out of the way, let's move on to enjoyment. I think you could already pick up from the other sections that I did gain a lot of enjoyment from this show. Even putting aside more technical aspects like plot and characters, I thought it was a very enjoyable ride, and always had fun when I turned on an episode. The animation and art, as I've already mentioned extensively, made it very entertaining to watch through. And also, that opening slaps. Just wanted to throw that out there. And because it is a shonen, it works as a great turn your brain off series. So, yeah, very entertaining show. With all of that said, it's time for me to give my final thoughts and score for the show. I gave the story a 7.5, the characters a 7, and the enjoyment a 9. These individual scores result in an overall score of 7.833333. Yeah, okay, just rounded up to a 7.8. The final score is a 7.8. The show, in my opinion, was very good. It's not a masterpiece, not by a long shot, but it is still really enjoyable. It's a great anime for people who haven't seen many animes, but it can also still be fun if you're a more seasoned anime fan. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you want to see what I review next, then consider subscribing so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. If you enjoyed, drop a like. It helps the video out and also lets me know what your opinion on it is. And make sure to comment with your thoughts on Demon Slayer. This has been Anime Savvy, and I'll see you next time.